Hello, welcome to day 25. Day 25. We are trucking along. We're doing good. I'm hoping nothing's gonna cause any hiccups in this challenge. Today we're gonna be dedicating the whole entire video to responding to your comments, answering any questions that you guys may have asked. I'm gonna put this disclaimer out there because I'm not sure where I left off. I know the day that I answered questions last time was day 18. I think I missed some questions when I did that. So I'm gonna try my best to answer your questions. I hope that they're all here. I think I answered Doris Morgan's question when she said, sad for your grandma. This was on day 16, by the way. Sad for your grandma, why did she get rid of them, the sheep that is? If I answered this question, I'm sure I said something along the lines of, my grandma's getting old and taking care of sheep is becoming more difficult. I will say though that when she was watching her sheep, the last two of her sheep leave, my sonny Michael, he said that this was the end of an era for my grandma because she's never not had sheep. Like, she's always had sheep. Even when I was little, she's had sheep. So to be there on the day that all her sheep are officially gone, it was kind of sad, and I didn't want to allow myself to think about it too much, but as I was driving away I was like, that's really sad. Like, I can't imagine not having dogs. So I feel like it's probably kind of the same way for my grandma. She was tearing up and she was wiping some tears away, and we comforted her, but at the same time we also wanted to let her have her space. So it was sad. It was. Crystal, same day, day 16. I like how they were besties and neighbors. That's living. To hear those stories would be awesome. I'm assuming your Nolly and my grandma are who you're referring to. I didn't know that they were besties. Listening to the stories that my mom had about Sam's mom were actually, they're actually pretty funny. The things that they did. Like, some of them we didn't even know about, but it would be nice to hear their stories. Maybe I'll ask my grandma about them next time. Syria Johnson on day 16 as well says, the way my sonny was looking out the door. It broke my heart. Like, I remember after I shut the camera off, I went up to my grandma. I was like, Grandma, you okay? She's like, yeah. And she was just wiping her tears with a tissue, and like I said, we kind of gave her space, and eventually she kind of sat down and she seemed like she was okay. The last time that I was back though, she seemed like she was okay. So cruising on up to day 17. Doris Morgan says, how many miles to your grandma's from Flagstaff? Even if it's a short vlog, you at least put one out. I am not sure how many miles. It's at least depending on which route I go, it could be 2 hours, could be 2.5 hours. There are two routes that I take. One is through the reservation to get to our part of the reservation, and then one is along I-40, which takes you to like pretty much the edge, and then I continue on to my hometown. I haven't checked the mileage. I don't even know. But it's about 2 to 2.5 hour drive, and depending on which route I take, you can get gas before you leave town, or you can get gas once you get onto the reservation. The other way, there's like little, like, you can stop in Winslow or Holbrook, or I think it's Joseph City. They have a Love's there, and then in Chambers, do they have? I'm not sure. Depending on which route, and then plus one route, it's more boring than the other, and then the other route, the roads are worse, and then there's animals along the way. So it's like, what do you want to deal with, Same day, day 17, Katie Rose says, what room are they adding to the house? They're adding a guest room, and in that same addition that they're adding, because my grandma doesn't have running water, they're doing, I don't even remember what it's called, but they're doing this. It's not going to be her getting a water line. It's going to be, I think they're going to have to be digging a hole for some water, and we'll still have to bring water in for her, but she should still be able to turn the tap on or turn the water on and be able to use the toilet, from my understanding. My sonny Michael, he added like some plumbing to it. I don't think my grandma will see running water at her home. during her lifetime, and she's already said it, so I don't feel like I'm saying anything bad, but she's pretty much already said this. And before, when her house that she's in now, it was well before electricity came. And even when my Sonny Michael, my grandpa, and everybody else, we were helping building it, my Sonny Michael, he put in electrical outlets because he's like, eventually we're gonna get electricity. So he had gotten it wired and everything for when the day finally came. And it finally came like 15 years later. If how I'm understanding it is incorrect, then he put in the plumbing, like the pipes, so for when the water eventually comes, if that makes sense. In that same room area, they're doing a guest room and like a little offside room for like a bathroom and a washing machine and dryer, and then also some extra doors. My Sonny Michael explained it to me, and you know, when you're listening and you can't quite see it from like the drawings and everything, but now that I see that it's coming together, I'm kind of understanding a little bit more about what he's talking about. So that's basically what's gonna happen. So that's it for day 17. Day 18 was the day that I answered any questions or responded to comments. Doris Morgan says, "Oh, Winnie, thank you for answering all questions. When you said at one time your grandma had 300 sheep, I'm like, wow." When we were little, my older sister and I, we used to go down to my grandma's and we used to herd sheep during the summertime, and we used to stay there and kind of like sleep outside sometimes and sleep in a camper and that sort of thing. And I just remember like seeing the sheep from a distance. Like you could spot the sheep, you knew where they were. And now over the years, whenever we've, you know, in the off chance that we've been there and we see the sheep off in the distance, I feel like it's becoming more and more difficult to see the sheep. And now, like right before my grandma gave the last two away, I could see more sheepdogs than sheep. And I didn't know that she had only two. My sister and I had been to the sheep corral, I want to say like a week before the last two were there. And I think there were 3 sheep. And she had given one away. She had 4 sheep, she had given one away. And I remember saying to my sister, I thought grandma had 4 sheep. And my sister said, oh, she gave one to our uncle. And then at that point she had 3. So I don't know what happened to the 3rd one. But my Sonny Michael said that at that point when she had given the last 2 away, she had only had the 2. Now that she doesn't have any sheep, it's kind of been brought up about what is going to happen to the gentleman, the older gentleman that you see in my vlogs. That's not my grandpa, that's my grandma's sheep herder, and they're related. So he's the sheep herder, plus he's like the handyman, so he kind of helps my grandma around the house. Now that the sheep are gone, I think we've already decided as a family that, this is just what I think, that he's still going to be around, because from what I hear, he doesn't really have family to go back to. And the reason why I think this is because my Sonny Michael, he's already got plans in the works, or already talking about building him like a little house kind of a little bit closer to my grandma's. He's already got a house along the way that they built several years ago for the sheep herders, but I think now that they don't have any sheep, at least this is what I'm thinking, they're gonna try to build a house closer to my grandma so he could be closer. So now what we're saying is like, so Francis is ours, we get to keep Francis because he's so nice. The older guy that you see in my vlogs when I go back to my grandma's, he's super nice. Like, he's never lectured or like teased us. There's like lecturing, and then there's like if you don't understand something in Navajo or you ask why, and like sometimes you're afraid to ask, why is this, like I don't understand. And then some people will get like all lectury and preachy about it, and then there's him that's like, oh, this is why, like he'll explain it, and he doesn't make us feel bad for like not being fluent. So I think the whole family really likes him, and we're kind of happy that he's gonna be staying around. The family, I feel like the family, us, we kind of do our part to like take care of him, like take him clothes and that sort of stuff. Sometimes, or a lot of times, I don't really get to do that, but my mom and like my Sonny Michael, they make sure that he's taken care of because he takes care of my grandma. So let's go to day 19. K.E. Rose The internet does the same thing where I live. It took me a week to upload one video. I have CenturyLink. I would like to know what is going on. They say the internet is okay. I read this comment and I was like, she has a YouTube channel. I don't know if you noticed, but I subscribe to you. Where we live, I feel like the city is big enough to have like better internet because they have Cox Communications down in Phoenix, and we used to have that before we moved here. And there's a helicopter. We used to have that before we moved here, and the internet was so fast. The like buffering when we got here was something that we just didn't have to deal with. So when we moved here and then things were buffering, we're like, what is this? Like, what is this? We just got so used to having that information get to us so quickly, so that when it buffered here, we were like, things buffer here. We did try CenturyLink. That didn't work out for us. We only had it for a week, and then we switched to Suddenlink, which was a little bit better for us, and we're still with Suddenlink now. And it's still like, the customer service is terrible. It takes a long time for someone to come out here, like even like up to a week, because that's happened to us. And they say the same thing, the internet is okay, we're doing troubleshooting from our end and your internet's fine, and you're like, it is not. I don't know. City Bird, she says, good evening, I hear your frustration. I was unable to watch YouTube for several hours yesterday. Glad to see you were able to upload the video. It's interesting that so many people they can relate to the whole internet thing. Yeah, it was really frustrating, and I'm really glad that we didn't have to wait for somebody to come out. It just, I don't know if it just corrected itself, but like I just said, sometimes it can take up to like 5 days for someone to come out. I've missed deadlines because of it. I wasn't able to continue with a training because of it, because I was too far behind. And it was just like, this is crazy. Like, why are we paying this much money for internet that is like intermittent? But yeah, I was eventually able to get that video uploaded after like, I want to say I spent like maybe 4 hours fighting with it, but it eventually got uploaded. Same day, day 19, Doris Morgan says, during this pandemic when school kids had to go online for school, our internet was bad at times. I've always had internet. This school year 2021, it was paid for by our tribe because of my high school grandson that lives with me. Wonder what was going on in your neighborhood. Have a good evening. See ya in your next vlog. You seem like the type that's like a fun grandma to be around. Let me see, do you have a channel? You have a channel but no videos. But you seem like a fun grandma to hang out with. I don't know how they did it back on Navajo for school. I think they did distance learning, like online classes, but the reason why I think that is because sometimes when I would go back to my mom's during the weekend, I would go to the track there in Ganado. There was nobody on campus, even during the weekdays. So I'm hoping that they were able to work something out for that. But at the same time, some students, I'm sure they live like in places with no electricity as well. So I'm not sure how they worked that out. Katie Rose, she says, thank you for reading my comments. Thank you for commenting and thank you for watching. Katie Rose and Doris Morgan, they're my more frequent commenters. All right, going up to day 20, Doris Morgan. Glad it wasn't serious, but still too many police cars makes me wonder. It made me wonder too, because there were 4. One down the street a little bit ways, one right in front of us but still on the street, one down the street a little bit ways, and one like at the corner. And I think like when I see stuff like that, I think like a hostage situation or like some sort of drug bust or whatever, and I'm like, oh geez. And there's been instances in this area of town where there have been drug busts, and I'm like, ugh. And it was weird that night I went out. I walked out and I'm like, why is it so quiet? Like, it felt like everything was still. So I walked over like closer to the street, and at the time that I was walking, I could only see the one car. So I was like, well, maybe he's just like pulled over for something, like, I don't know, checking something. And then as I got closer to the street and I looked down, and I was like, whoa. And Bandit, he's usually never on a leash when we're just going outside to go restroom, but before I had walked out, I had seen that police officer, so I put him on a leash when I took him out because I didn't want to get in trouble. And then that's when we saw the other police cars, and we're like, whoop, let's just turn around. So we turned around, and he wasn't out there for very long. He ended up leaving, but I did ask him, like, am I okay to be out here? Because I'm like, is there somebody running loose? Am this is a funny story, this is a side story. One time, Sam and I, it was during summertime, Sam, myself, Bandit, and Hercules, we were still in this apartment. We went out and we saw, I call it a ghetto bird, that's what I've heard it called, but those helicopters with the spotlights that are shining around, and they were flying over our neighborhood. Well, not too close, but kind of like a couple streets over, and they were like shining their light. And then so we're like, I wonder what's going on, I wonder what's going on. And then we're like, maybe we should go back inside. So we came back in, and then we got on the I think it's called like flag scanner, and it turns out that there was somebody on the run because he shot somebody else in a hotel that's just like down the street. So he made a run for it, and he came to like our side of town, and I'm like, we were so stupid. We were standing out there just looking at the helicopter. Like, we ended up coming in and we locked the doors, but I just remember thinking, like, we're a bunch of doofuses. Like, why did we think it was like okay to just watch the helicopter? Anyhow, day 20 still. Victor Spencer says, more res style from Coppermine north of Flagstaff. I'm not sure what he means by more res style. Am I more res style? Because I'm okay with that. Or does he want me to do more res style vlogs? I'm not sure. I've never been to Coppermine. I've been as far north as Kayenta? Yeah, Kayenta. That's as far north that I myself have been. I think we're actually, we have a trip coming up, and it's gonna take us like north, like out of state, and then a few states over. So I think we might be going through Coppermine if that's along the way. It's funny because a lot of people, the reservation is so big that there are places that I've never heard of, and then sometimes when I come across somebody else from the reservation and we ask, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Ganado, and they're like, where's that? And the way that I say it is, we are about 30 minutes west of Window Rock, because everybody knows Window Rock is. But I've never been to Coppermine. Going on to day 21, Crystal says, yum, I could almost smell it. Those peaches came from our neighbor, Miss Sylvia, and she's already got like little peaches coming in, so she said they should be ready by August, and she said I could take as many as I want. So I feel like it's gonna be another fun season of baking pies. Same day, day 21, S_JNSN4 says, looks delish. It was delish. It came out really good. I feel like I probably put a little too much cinnamon and nutmeg in it because it tasted more like an apple pie with like peach flavoring. So next time, I think it was because I didn't have enough peaches because that's all that I had. But it came out really good. It wasn't watery, and we warmed it up when we got down to Camp Verde with Sam's grandma, and it was fine. Like, it was pretty good. We had some vanilla bean ice cream with it. K.E. Rose says, looks good, and she does this. It was really good. It's really good. Doris Morgan, deliciously looking, yum. Vanilla bean ice cream made it way better. So that's it for day 21. We are going to day 22. Doris Morgan says, oh, your Grammy's so darling. She must love peach pie. She does. Like, I didn't know that she likes peach pie, and she really likes pineapple upside down cake. Those are her favorite. I know I like fry bread thin and crunchy sometimes, so it looked delicious. They all came out good. See you in our next vlog. It's funny because I made fry bread, and my brother-in-law, he's down there too. And so I knocked on his door to ask him if he wanted some. And so I took him some, and I was like, I'm not gonna give him the cheap fry bread because that's my in-law, you know? So I picked like the best looking out of all those fry bread because I didn't want him to be like, what kind of bread does my sister-in-law make? He would never say that, but I didn't want him to think it either. So he ended up coming like wanting more, but at that point it was all gone. See you next vlog. Good night. It was a good dinner. Katie Rose, pet sense everything about their owners or family members. I feel like Bandit and Hercules sensed when there was something going on with Sam's mom when she was sick. And when she was sick and she was like resting in the bedroom, they would be in there with her, like right by her feet, and just kind of like hanging out with her. And after she left, they would still go in there and kind of like look around. I had thought that over the years, since it's been like maybe 5 or 6 years since she's been gone, I had thought that it would be something that they would kind of eventually, well, Bandit at least, would eventually like not do anymore. But when we got there, because you know how we get there and we kind of like check around, make sure everything is good, and because there was no one at the house at that point, we went in there to make sure everything was okay, and he just like took off in there. And then when he went in there, he kind of like did this like circle-y, like looking for her, and then he stood there for a bit, and then he just walked out really slow. And it was just like, because he had his own bed there, and it was sad. Your grandmother is so beautiful. My grandma is beautiful as well as Sam's grandma. Like, it's funny because my grandma's middle name is Elizabeth, and Sam's grandma, her name is Elizabeth. Sam's grandpa and my grandpa, their first name was George. And my great grandpa, which is my grandma that you see in my vlogs, my great grandpa, my grandma's father, and Sam, they both have the same name. So it's like, what? Oh, and then Sam and I, my middle initial is Ann, or my middle name is Ann, and Sam's middle name is Anderson. So it's like, what? Katie Rose again, she says, you have answered a bunch of my questions. Thank you so much. Have a nice trip. It was a good trip. It was a weird night though, because we had a hard time sleeping because it was uncomfortable. It was fun. We'd do it again. Moving on to day 23, Katie Rose says, I'm so proud of both of you for helping elders. I feel like we could do more, because I feel like this whole pandemic, because nobody was vaccinated and you didn't know who got it, we still had to keep our distance. Like, from my mom, from my grandma, it was like, it's not that we didn't want to go back, it's just that we were afraid of taking something back to them, or, you know, getting something ourselves. So I feel like it was like a wasted year last year. And now that we're vaccinated, it's a lot easier to make a decision to go back. We're still really cautious though, but it's not like, oh, we're nervous. It's not so much like that anymore, even though it is a little bit. But I feel like we were robbed of a year to spend time with our grandparents or my mom or my sisters. It was just kind of like, can this end already? Doris Morgan says, we as elders need our grandchildren and children to come around and not forget us. My 23 and 24-year-old grandson stops by maybe once a month, maybe sometimes twice a month. I know that they have jobs and that takes up their time, and I'm okay with the time they have given me. See you in the next vlog. We do, like, I still struggle with trying to spend time with my grandma, and I know Sam does. His is for the house that his grandma lives in. There's a lot of trauma connected to that house with his parents and everything. But that's something that he's trying to I don't want to say get over, but that's something that he's trying to learn to cope with. But I still feel like our efforts now, I'm hoping that it's kind of making up for some of that lost time. I'm not going to say that I'm the perfect grandchild or anything, because I am not, but I do enjoy spending this time with both my grandma and Sam's grandma, because they're about the same age, and it's interesting to see like how, even though they're the same age, like what things are the same and what things are different, and kind of like hear some funny stories. And Katie Rose on day 23, she says, sandbags for flooding. Yes, oh my gosh, a couple years ago we had this fire up on the mountain, and because of the burn scar, they're saying that the water can just like sheet right off, and we're kind of in the area, not so much, but on the edge of a flood area, so that's why the sandbags are around. They're so ugly and I hate them. Like, they're so ugly. Ours were starting to break down, and whenever we moved them, they would tear, and it has like those cinder rocks in it, so they're like really sharp, and when you step on one of those, it's like, it feels like you're stepping on a bullhead. We got rid of ours because they were breaking down, but now they're putting more back on the streets and asking residents to take some to, you know, put some around their home. And I'm like, ugh, I thought we were done with this, but we're not apparently. But yeah, those sandbags are for flooding. Okay, so now we are on day 24. Prepared for anything Sam wants you safe. Meal looks yummy. I feel like well, of course he wants me safe, but he says that he knows that he can't get me to stop walking because I walk every day. He knows that he can't get me to stop walking. So the next alternative is to keep me protected. There was a period of time where I carried, and I still do every once in a while, but when I'm like doing a run, it's hard to have that on me. But yeah, I appreciate that he does that for me. And it like I said, it was annoying, but I'm just like, considering what's been going on, like I'm a minority, I'm a woman, in my words, I'm stealable because I'm, you know, I'm short and I'm kind of small. I feel like, okay, I get it. Meal looks yummy. I'm thinking you're talking about the chicken and the broccoli. I didn't like my chicken and rice and broccoli because I put rosemary on it and it tasted more like sausage. Anyway, now I know. And the weird thing is I like rosemary, like on potatoes, so good. But no more rosemary on chicken for me. Hey Rose says, nice protection. Thank you, Sam, for keeping Winnie safe. I'm sure if he were to respond to this himself, he would say you're welcome. He's just doing his part. Wendy Bird 5131, is the cot for camping for summer? Yes, it's for camping for summer. The cot that we got was defective. We thought it was just us. So when Sam took it back to do a return or an exchange, the guy was like, well, okay. So he was looking at it and sure enough, it was defective. So he got a new one. And one of my assignments for today was to put it up to see if it's defective too. But I don't want to, I'm tired. We are doing a little bit of shopping here and there to have stuff collected for summer. So we have a tent, we each have cots with the padding on it. We have a cooler, we have some like lawn chairs. I think we might want to get like a little grill, but I'm not sure because we have our grill. We have sleeping bags, and because we're planning on doing a little bit of camping this summer. Okay, you guys, that's it for day 25. I hope I answered your questions, and I hope that if you commented, I saw your comment. It's because the reason why I say that is because it's kind of all jumbled on my screen. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. I did some cleaning today. I got rid of some stuff, and there's still stuff that needs to be done because we have a trip coming up, like I said, but still, I feel a lot better about today. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope you're having a good night. Bye.